particular. So this time, Chiron in Aries is about detoxing detoxing and emerging from this healing process so that you can lead the way for the generations to follow. It's time to step out and be seen. So Chiron in Aries happened twice in the 20th century. The first time was in 1918 to 1927, which is when the women's suffragette movement really took off. It was also the Roaring Twenties, where women really started beginning to step out. You saw the emergence of women writers, not writing under male pseudonyms. Women were cutting their hair. They were wearing makeup. They were experiencing a sexual revolution in a sense. You had women were no longer wearing all of the layers of clothing, all of the corsets and the petticoats and the silk stockings. Instead, they were wearing flapper dresses with very few undergarments. They were letting their legs show and their stockings show, and their hair was bobbed short, and their dresses were made in such a way that they moved, and it showed the movement of their bodies, especially when they danced the Charleston. And so this was a really foundational step for all of the women's movements through the rest of the 20th century. The second time there was a Chiron in Aries was 1968 through 1977. And it also coincided with Pluto in Libra from 1971 to 1984. And after 1984, then Pluto moved into Scorpio with the Generation Y, or the millennial generation. So we're talking about Generation X and Generation Y at this particular point in time. And Generation Y, the millennials, can't do their job unless our generation, Generation X, does our job. So our job, particularly if you also have Chiron in Aries, is to help break open, break free. We grew up with our mothers working or single parents due to our mothers breaking free, either through divorce or in relationships with our fathers, either because they wanted this independence or they had to work just because the way finances were set up required them to work. It was no longer the 1950s where people could buy a home for $40,000 or less with one income. So our mothers were not at home when we were growing up. There were no seatbelt laws when we were growing up, or car seats for children. We were latchkey kids. We grew up watching TV, or most of my generation in this culture. I didn't, but most of my generation in this culture did grow up watching TV. We grew up with videos and MTV, with role models like Madonna. And we raised ourselves because there were so many discordant energies around us that we were often neglected or forgotten. This was not really a time that was kind to children. And to be fair, I don't really know if there has been a time that has been particularly kind to children. but we certainly were not very, very nurtured by our parents. We learned to take care of ourselves and to keep quiet for survival. And honestly, we came here in case the world didn't self-destruct. But we had to remain hidden for our safety. So we chose home situations where we could hide or be left alone until we could grow up and be ready for the time in case the earth did not self-destruct. And the earth has not self-destructed. We are not going to self-destruct. If you need proof of that, just the recent events with the assassination of Soleimani by President Trump, not leading to war, should demonstrate that we are not going to go down that road. Just 10 years ago, we would have gone to war. Iran and Iraq would have gone to war with us over that. And that just hasn't happened, which is really shocking and surprising. So we are not self-destructing. So it is now time for us to step up and be seen and step into our purpose. But before we do that, we have to heal the wounds that our home situations and our childhoods created due to the necessity of us needing to be in situations in order to hide and be protected so that we could be where we are now. Because those consequences now have to be addressed. Those wounds need to be addressed. The familial and social programming we absorbed in order to not stick out too much now need to be addressed and healed. Not only within ourselves, but as we heal those things within ourselves, our DNA goes back in time and heals those in our ancestors as well. So our time here, now in healing all of those things is not only going to heal us, but it's going to heal history and it's going to heal the future, because we experience time linearly, but it isn't linear. So we're stopping these patterns. We're stopping them for our children. We're stopping them from our ancestors. And that's why we're here. And that's why we are the old souls. That's why growing up, when we looked at our parents like they were some kind of idiots sometimes, like they just didn't get it. And they didn't. And they still don't. It's because we are the old souls. They are the young ones. We are the adults. They are the children. It doesn't matter what roles that we are playing in this lifetime. The truth of the matter is that we are the wise ones. That's why we are here. That's why we are this generation. And so it is our responsibility then to heal this time so that we can do our purpose, so that the millennials can do their purpose. Now, the millennials are going to have a little bit of this transitionary healing that they have to do as well, because they were alive for 9/11. 9/11 was that critical turning point where we would have self-destructed. And so for those who were alive during 9/11 in particular, there's also going to be some of this transitionary healing that you're going to have to do. Those who were born after 9/11 are born into a very different frequency of the planet, and those who were born after 2012 are also experiencing a much different frequency. And those who are born after this time are really going to be very different people. So we are the transitionary ones. We're the ones who remember the old energy, the heavy energy, the dense energy, the time when there really wasn't any hope, when things didn't change that much. It was really easy to look down the road into the future and see how things were going to go, because there wasn't much change. It was very easy to predict what was going to happen next, just because people weren't changing all that much. They weren't evolving. It was taking multiple lifetimes for things to make incremental shifts and changes. And then after 1989, things started shifting a little more. After 2001, things really started ramping up. And after 2008, things started really shifting and changing really quickly. And since 2012, I mean, you all know how fast things change. And you can go from one day to the next and it's a completely different world. And just, in the last 3 months, how much has changed and how much is being revealed every day. Every day, something new or several somethings new are being revealed or are happening. And they're not little things. They're significant things, each of them. And as somebody said on Twitter today, any one of these events that happened just in the last 24 hours would be enough news to feed a news cycle for a year. And yet we're having these kinds of experiences and these events that are happening daily. And this is why it's so overwhelming, especially for those of us who are coming out of the old dense energy, who were programmed and grew up in the old dense energy, because we're not accustomed to this kind of change, and it's a little more challenging for us than those who were born in the lighter energy more recently. So, how do we do this? We do this through discipline, and this is where Saturn comes in. So Pluto is about the transformation out of the muck, doing this, detoxifying our bodies, our minds, and our emotions of all of these programmings, these consequences of our woundedness, so that we can step into the purpose that we are here for. So Saturn, discipline, being held accountable for all that we do and say. And it's time to commit to ourselves. So those of us in Generation X, we've been accused of being flighty, of not really committing to something, to just kind of floating from one thing to other, to not really have a purpose in life, and not really settling down into one way of being. And I'm not saying that you have to do that. Because there's a purpose behind this. Pluto is in Libra for us after all, and that means we're transforming the systems, particularly in government and judicial systems. We're destroying them. We're breaking them open, not through anarchy, but through cooperation, fairness, and justice. Equality are all themes that are deeply, deeply important to us. And the only time we'll really get riled up is if there's a strong injustice, such as what's going on right now with this government administration in the United States. This will really rile up my generation because it is so unjust. We're also about truth and honesty and integrity. And everything that's happening in the government right now goes against everything that we stand for. And so this is why it is a signal for us to step out, to be heard, to be seen. This is why we are here, is for this time, so that we can transform our planet so that the millennials can do their job, which is to more deeply transform at the emotional level, at the sexual level, and to allow things to die that need to die. The They were born with Pluto in Scorpio, Pluto ruling Scorpio. They are the deep transformers, but we have to pave the way for them to do what they need to do, because they're going to come up with some really wonderful ways of rebuilding things. Our job is to break them down and to create an environment of collaboration so that they can then bring in the new systems, the new ways of doing things that are really unique and transformational, that have not been seen on this planet before. So this is going to require daily effort, disciplined effort, and a commitment, and a holding accountable to one another for doing this work. Because, again, like I said, this is not a transformation that you get to choose. This transformation is happening whether you like it or not. So it can either take you kicking and screaming, or you can choose it and use these tools to help you through it in a more graceful way. So there are three ways that I would like to suggest that you can support yourself through a daily disciplined effort. Now, there are many ways that you can support yourself through a daily disciplined effort. If you find one that works for you, great. Do it by all means, and then share it with us, because just because I suggest something doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody. So if you find something that works for you, please put it in the comments, because somebody else might really resonate with that, and that's just one more person who is on this path to really making a difference on this planet and in this society. So the three ways that I suggest are a gratitude journal, clearing your energy fields daily, and connecting deeply to yourself and your root chakra. And I will show you and teach you how to do each of these three things. These are foundational practices for everything else that I'm going to be teaching the rest of this lunar year. So yes, there's more that we can do, and there's more that I want to teach, but at this point in time, I don't want to get too bogged down. Let's just take it one step at a time. So gratitude journal. When you express gratitude, express it not only for what you have, but for what you desire. And when you express gratitude for what you desire, feel as though you already have it. For it is in the feeling of already having it around you that creates the energetic template for that to be manifested into this dimension. Let me state it in a different way. When you feel the feeling in your divine line of what it is to already experience what it is you are requesting, you set up an energetic resonance within your body through your divine line. Your body then picks up that energy, that energetic frequency, and then says, oh, that's what you're looking for? Okay, I can create that in this dimension. Because remember, we as souls are not responsible for creating in this dimension. We don't know how to do that. Our bodies know how to do that. So if we want something to happen in this dimension, we have to communicate it to our bodies. And the most efficient way to do that is by holding the frequency of it within our divine line and showing our bodies through that vibration, through that frequency. And then the body can interpret that and say, okay, let me go find what it is that you are wanting to create in this dimension, and I can bring that to you. So in your gratitude journals, you not only express gratitude for what you already have that you want more of, but you also express gratitude for the things that you want to bring into your dimension, into your reality, that you don't yet have, but you express gratitude as though you already have it. Because energetically, if you do, you already do. And so then you're placing an order then, not only with your body, but with the universe, that this is what I want more of. That's what a gratitude journal does. And that is how I created the life that I have now. It's one of the ways. The second way, clearing your energy fields daily. Now, I do this more than once a day. For a variety of reasons. But I started out by doing this at night before I went to sleep. And it's all I did for 18 months. When I first started this practice of doing these protocols, my teacher was just starting out, and my pocketbook my budget didn't allow me to subscribe to her at that time. And she had this protocol on her free page. And that's all I did. That's all I listened to every day for 18 months. And if you do nothing else, this protocol will change your life. This simple practice, this daily practice will change your life. Clearing your energy fields daily. What this does is it allows you to connect only with you. And there's a separate protocol for actually connecting with you. But if you do the connection with yourself without clearing your energy fields, you don't know who you are. Because when your energy is on other things and other people or events or places, because you want to control somebody or control an outcome, or you're looking for connection by feeling what somebody else is feeling, you have no idea if what you're experiencing is you or somebody else. And so it's vitally important for you to learn how to feel only you, and to learn how to meet your needs only for yourself. Now, this is a practice. Like I said, it's a daily practice, and lots of things come up as you do this practice, as you pull your energy off of everyone and everything and keep it in your divine line. The first thing that you're going to experience is loneliness. It's a deep and profound sense of loss, and you might feel abandoned. And if you grew up during this time when our mothers weren't home, or you had a single parent and they just weren't around, and you felt abandoned in whatever way, those issues are going to come up as you do this process. And there are protocols to address those, but keep in mind that those issues are coming up not only to be healed, but to provide a new way of meeting those needs that isn't codependent on external situations. The time is now to grow up into learning how to meet our own needs for ourselves and not depend on someone else or a set of circumstances to meet these needs for us. So the first thing that's going to come up for you is a sense of loneliness and a sense of loss. And when you feel that, go even more deeply and do the connect protocol, which will be the third one. So we'll come back to this second one, the clearing your energy fields. So, and one more aspect in describing what happens is, imagine that you have a socket, like a electrical socket where you plug a light into, or you're charging your phone or something like that. And imagine that you have an entire board, an entire wall of sockets. And one wall of sockets is for control, one wall of sockets is for power, one wall of sockets is for creativity, one wall of sockets is for approval. And there's a wall of sockets for any of these qualities, right? And as long as you are plugged in to your own wall, you are connected with yourself. You are only feeling yourself. But if you have a judgment on somebody else and you say, well, that person shouldn't be doing that. Here, I can help them. Let me take my plug of creativity off my creativity wall and plug it into somebody else's creativity wall. Now, all of a sudden, you can't access your own creativity. You've given it to somebody else, but they can't use it because it's not tuned to their frequency. All they know is that there's something there that doesn't belong to them and it's irritating to them. And they feel you and you feel them, but they can't fix you and you can't fix them because you don't have the keys to unlock each other's issues. You only have the keys to unlock your own. You only have the keys to heal yourself. So imagine through thousands of years of plugging our empowerment plugs into everybody else's power walls to try to control them, or control walls, or creativity walls, or justice walls, or mastery, or tools, or gifts, or loyalty, or an integrity. Imagine that we're plugging into everybody else, or to circumstances, to events such as a concert, or to a political situation. We're plugging into all these other things that are outside of us. Every plug that we put outside of ourselves causes us to lose access to our own energy and our own keys for healing and using that energy, and it allows us to feel everything and everyone that we've plugged into. And so if you are feeling overwhelmed, chances are your energy is on other people or other events, and it's not yours. There's nothing you can do about it. And so you're getting overwhelmed because you can't do anything about it, and you keep trying to do something by putting your energy on it, and you're getting frustrated and overwhelmed, which leads to depression and distress and all kinds of other issues of needing to be numbed. Remember, we go back to the issue of Chiron and Aries, the wounded healer, of injuring ourselves so that we don't have to feel the emotions. This is all where it comes from. So keep in mind that we can't fix anyone but ourselves. We can't heal anything or anyone except ourselves. So here is the protocol.